time to join us today to listen to what we have to share with you. We truly appreciate that. And we're very excited. This is the first time we're participating in this conference, and we would like to show you where we're visiting from. Even though this is a virtual space, we would love to show you where we're visiting from. So I'm gonna go ahead and take you to, most of you are in the United States. Most of you might be in Denver. But today we're going to take you to Guatemala City. Guatemala City is located in Central America, and we are visiting you guys from Colegio Decroly Americano, Decroly American School, and it is an international school. We teach by using the United States curriculum and the standards. All of our programs are in English. We do have some classes in Spanish. And some of our students, or at least most of our students this year, the number has increased, apply to colleges in the United States. That's why our programs and our methodologies, well, try to be very innovative, very active. So we would love to know where you guys are visiting us from. So I'm going to drop a link in the chat so that you can tell us, where are you visiting us from? Let me just go grab that. You can see the link here at the top, poll everywhere, and that is the keyword, the password. Let me just see if I can go grab that link really quickly. I'm going to stop sharing for a little while. And I'm gonna drop that for you really quickly, so that you can tell us where you are visiting us from. That would be really, really interesting to know. So you have the link there in the chat. Tell us where you're visiting from. We are very excited to have you here to share what we are doing in Colegio Decroly Americano in Guatemala City. We are ready to share our experience with you, our best practices, and probably not the best practices. And you let us know where you're visiting from. In the meantime, we're going to introduce ourselves. I'll start. I am Betsy, Betzabe Orenos, or you can call me Betsy. I am the high school innovation teacher at our school, as well as the instructional coach. So my job is to support our teachers looking for innovative ways to deliver learning to our students. And I'm going to pass it on to Miss Sheila. You're muted, Miss.
My name is Sheila Escobedo. Thank you, Betsy, for passing on me. I'm the high school assistant principal, and I've been at the Americano since 1995. So thank you and welcome to this short meeting today. Let's go now with David Perez.
Thank you, Michela. Hi, my name is David Perez. I'm teaching math in CDA. I've been here for about 4 years, and I'm really excited to share with you my experience today with the activities that I'm working with my students.
David López.
Hello, everyone. My name is David López. I am the newest and probably the youngest here. I am the world literature and American literature teacher, one of the American literature teachers here at CDA. And it's a huge honor for me to be here with you sharing as Betsy said, the good and bad practices, mostly the good, the exciting adventure of teaching.
Thank you so much, David. And we're going to take a look again at our map and look at most of our participants in the US area. So thank you so much again for joining us. We are really thankful for the opportunity of coming here and share with you what we are doing, what has been working with our students, and what the teachers have been learning in order to improve their practices, even in distance learning. And now that we have hybrid learning coming around the corner, we know that these practices are going to be very useful, and that that's why you are here. So we invite you to take screenshots if you like to, and you can also make posts on Twitter using those tags, and let us know what you are taking away from this session today. Now, we know that distance, you know, has not let us gather and network, share best practices the way we used to, but it has also led the opportunity for us to go beyond the borders, because we wouldn't be here if this event wouldn't be taking place virtually. So we wanted to make this experience different as well. Despite of the distance, imagine how many miles away. We already show you that map, how many miles away from you we are. Look at that. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It does not matter that we are so far away. Today, we want to provide you with a particular experience in this session. So we're not going to be presenting from slides. We are going to take you to a virtual environment. Right now, you're not going to have access to that virtual environment because we want all of your attention. But guess what? We are going to give you access, and you are more than invited to share with your colleagues, to bring them along to that virtual environment that we're going to take here right now, where we have prepared the resources that you're going to need, that you're going to take away with you after this session. And of course, for those of you who still like slides, we also put together a set of slides that you can take away with you. And if you promise to stay with us till the end, we have a little present for you guys that I'm pretty sure you're going to take advantage of in your schools, in your classrooms. So are you guys ready to start? I would like to stop sharing and see some thumbs up on those screens to let us know that you are more than ready to begin and learn with us today. And so that we can set the mood. Oh, that's exciting. Look at all of those thumbs up. Awesome. Right. So I'm pretty sure, Sheila, that you have an activity to get us started and set the mood for the topic of today. So why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, thank you, Betsy. We are really glad to share this virtual stage with David Perez and David López. You know, they are two good teachers. They are risk takers, because they not only have ventured to go into the digital environment, but also they have made some arrangements in their classes so they can engage their students in using this environment, and also the PBL concept. So that's the question for the audience today. Just right now, just think about it. What is PBL for you? What would be 3 characteristics of PBL that you can think of? Just think about it, okay? Now, I need you to write them in the chat box, and as I count down from 5 to 1, then you can share your thoughts in the chat box, all right? So 5.
Well, don't send them yet.
Don't send them yet. So I'll count until 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Send your comments in the chat box, please. What is PBL for you?
Oh, look at
Kyle.
that.
Hello, Kyle. Thank you for joining us today. An opportunity for students to apply learning in the classroom to the real world. Thank you for your comment. Anne Wales, group work, real world problems, structure. Melissa, thank you for participating. Critical thinking. Yeah, you're right. Aubrey Tobias, student-centered, group-based, real world problems. Thank you. Yeah, all of those are characteristics of project-based learning. Thank you for participating. Practical application of skills, authentic activities. Thank you. Dina, engage students in real world application. Great. So that is something that our teachers here at Decroly would like to share with you today, the way they try to engage those students into real world problems. Thank you for doing.
I was about to tell you that, Sheila, that it's the perfect setting, right? We think we are all on the same page. So I just can't wait to take everybody along to that virtual environment that we have prepared for them. So everybody, buckle your seatbelts, because we are going in that virtual space. This is a space that we have prepared. This has been made in a program called, in a platform called CoSpaces. That is part of a little present that we're gonna leave for you today. And this particular environment is a diorama most of you must be familiar with, so you can start thinking of ideas of your future products for your own PBL unit. So this is a one first perk or benefit that you get from coming to our session. And if you already are using CoSpaces, well, we can't wait to hear your best practices, because you're also welcome to share with us. Sheila and I will be reading the chat for any questions for our star teachers today. And David, listen, I just can't wait to hear from you, because I don't know, what were you thinking, David? What were your concerns the minute you found out that you were no longer going to have your students in the classroom? David Perez, what can you tell us? Because I really want to know what the moment that pandemic started and you said, oh, how am I going to teach my math classes? What crossed your mind? I would love to know.
To be honest, Betsy, I was really worried about engaging the students in the class. How? Because this is the first time that I'm having this through this situation. So the other thing was following up on their progress and making the content relevant because everything was new. So that's what I was worried about.
Well, and I think that most of our teachers that are with us today also thought, what am I going to do to get my students engaged? Because that's basically the reason why they're here. They want to engage their students, but they want to challenge them too. So what do you do?
Yeah, actually, what the comments, what we saw in the comments, actually what I did is try to give them a real life scenario where they could apply math and challenge them. So basically, that's what I try to do with them, and that's what I want to share with all of you today.
Fantastic, because our first section in the diorama is dedicated for that first challenge that you gave to your students. So why don't you tell us a little bit about it? And when you guys have access to this diorama, you can press the question mark and you will read a brief description whenever you want to share with other colleagues. But this time, we're gonna hear it from David Perez, our math teacher.
Yeah, thank you, Betsy. So basically in here, it represents, this process represents organization because we have to organize our ideas, we need to organize our time, and basically we need to plan everything that we are going to work with our students. We need to prioritize standards. That's another thing that I learned during this process. Because here in this, with this methodology, with distance learning, it's difficult to try to cover all the content that we have to cover in the class. So basically we have to prioritize standards and give different opportunities to the students to demonstrate that they understand what they are learning. So basically that's what represents this process. So basically, if you see in the first challenge to the students, where you see in the screen, basically we decide to apply math in something that they know. And in here in Guatemala, we have this a theme park. The name of this theme park is IRTRA. So basically, what we create is a scenario where people from IRTRA contact our students and they have to design a theme park for them. But in this theme park, basically, they have to take into account biosecurity protocols. They have to include basically the content in math, the standards that we want to cover were polynomial functions. So basically, that's what we try to apply. Previously, when we have the students in class, I used to work with final period projects. And one of the projects that I had with them was creating or designing a roller coaster. So basically what I did was just took that idea of the creation of roller coaster and we expanded on creating a theme park. So applying the roller coaster, using the roller coaster but in a theme park. So basically, that's what we did. That's what we have in the screen. If you see, we have the process where some of you mentioned about the students are the center on this learning process. So basically, they had to create their design. They had the option. If you see in one of the pictures there, they sketch their roller coaster first. Then they took it in a graphic calculator. They put it there. They then start creating the design in code spaces. That was the tool that we use. So basically, that's the idea of what we did. It wasn't just my idea. I work with our technology teacher. Basically, we also contact some expert from IRTRA to give the students a chat or information of what they used to see when they're designing an area on the park. So basically, it involves a lot of people, not just me, but the students are seeing other options in the classroom. So in this case, it was through Zoom. So basically, we had the option to we had the opportunity to talk with an expert. So that was another important part on this process.
I'm very happy that you brought that up, David, because that's one important thing in bringing PBL units to the way you're teaching, to the way you're delivering learning, and putting aside that first fear that we think, oh my God, I don't know, I cannot handle this, I don't know about this topic, because a lot of integrations start taking place, a lot of cross-curricular topics start popping in, and you're afraid of, oh, I cannot handle this topic. So inviting experts is a very good idea. And now that we are on this modality, virtual, distance learning, or hybrid mode, it is easier to bring people into our classrooms. But David, I have an important question for you before we move on to our next section of the diorama. That I really want you to tell the teachers, what were your fears when you stopped being the center of your class, when you stopped being the fountain or the source of knowledge, telling the students, giving them the formulas and the processes and everything coming from you? What techniques do you use? What were your fears? I am pretty sure teachers want to know that.
Yes, actually, one of the things is that basically, how can I take control of their work? Because it's difficult to do it in class. When they are here in the classrooms, it's difficult to do it here. Now we have to do it in distance learning. So basically, that was one of my fears. Also, the situation that I have the wrong idea of that they are not going to receive anything from me. But basically, in the plan, in the activities that we plan, we include mini lessons. We call them like mini lesson. Basically, because we have different types of students that some of them need a traditional class to be able to understand. Some of them, they have the ability to go through the web and see information and try to apply it or include it in what they have to do. So basically, that was the fear, basically. So all of them had different ideas. That was another thing that in the process, I didn't take in count. For example, we have different students, different ideas of how they want to create. For example, we were working with polynomials, as I explained you, but one of them told me, teacher, I want to include a circle here. And that was not, that wasn't part of the content that I want that they cover, but he had the idea to include it. So basically, those are the things that we have to take into account, but this type of learning gives the students the opportunity to be critical thinkers.
Yeah, so, and to go beyond, right? So we have on screen one of the products, one of the theme parks created by your students, and you can see how they added their personal touch to each of the theme parks. Where the theme parks, did the theme parks look the same, David? Did you get the same product from all of the groups?
No, Betsy, was different. Since the design, all of them had different ideas. Even in the group, they had to take their ideas because they were working in groups of 4. I don't know, it was groups of 3, but basically the 3 of them had different ideas and they had to decide which was the best option for them to include in their project.
Yes, I'm going to show another one. It takes a little bit to load because of the type of resources the students use. And this is another thing I would like to share with you, that in this type of platforms, your students can integrate different types of multimedia. So it's gonna run again. So everybody, hold on. This one even has music. I don't know if I shared the sound. Ah, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so use the arrows to move, right? Oh my goodness. Okay, so this one is more of a dinosaur type of theme park. Okay, let's enter. Click on the letter S. They added directions. Okay, guys, hold on.
If we want to see the map part, Betsy, maybe you can say, okay, I can graph just a lot of lines there and that's it. They should create the designing, calculating the functions. So basically that's the math part included in the roller coaster. So it's not just like using the app, the CodeSpaces app, and just doing it. They had to include the mathematical process of each function that they include there.
And you know, you mentioned another important thing to wrap up your participation now. Something to remember, teachers, is that the tool is not the most important thing. You can use any tool, and in fact, we're gonna leave a list of tools for you to use, but the most important thing should be your learning objective. That's where everything starts from, and giving them the opportunities to demonstrate their learning in different ways. So David, I think I have nothing but to thank you for this first intervention. Sheila, you can tell us if there are any questions coming in the chat. We are ready here to answer questions if you like to ask David Perez any questions. But we're gonna go back to our diorama because we have another project.
Yes, let's go ahead. Let's move on because there are no questions yet. So we can move on. Yes.
Fantastic, because we're gonna take you, that was math. And we really like to show off math because a lot of teachers say, no, math is like impossible to do a project, to do PBL units. We can't. But now you see that it is possible with a little bit of creativity and starting from a problem or a scenario. I think that was the key. But now I'm gonna take it with another one. And this is gonna be Sheila and David López. So I'm just gonna be showing around. You guys, go ahead.
So David, in your case, can you tell us what happened? What was the scenario for the students?
Well, yeah, it was a big challenge because one of the topics that we were supposed to cover in the period was Hamlet. So it's always a huge challenge to bring Hamlet to life, right? To start, you have to deal with a very different language, very different English, especially with some non-native speakers, right? And on top of that, it's a play. They're familiar with movies, but they're not that familiar with plays. And it's a story that they may have heard once or twice. Now, we decided instead of just teaching the regular structure of, you know, let's focus on the content. This is act number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the main characters. This is the plot. This is what happens. These are the words, etc. We decided to challenge our students to be able to present 2 things. One would be comparative, literary comparative essay, where they would compare either a theme or the setting analysis, or focus on a literary technique, whether it be a metaphor, metaphors, similes, etc. And compare how it is used in Hamlet and how it is used in another text. So we gave them options, and I think you can show the options that we gave to the students. That's in the mini library section.
Oh, okay.
There. So they could choose. We gave them the option to come to school and pick a physical book, or to read an online version of the book. Some of the texts were Moby Dick, Things Fall Apart, 1984, Othello, Brave New World, Crime and Punishment, Little Women, etc. So they needed to compare both texts. We needed, which, like, the process needed a very deep literary analysis, right? If you compare a theme in both texts, you have to dig deep and find out how that theme is presented, which characters are used to represent the theme, what is being said about that theme. And so all that deep analysis was a huge challenge for me. It was an exciting adventure, but it was also a huge challenge for me. But what helped us as well was the fact that we gave them the second option, which was the first thing they needed to produce was an essay, and also they needed to present either a TED Talk, a photography project, an acting video project, or a co-spaces project, similar to the ones that we saw in the mathematics classes. And they needed to show how that theme could be brought to our present day scenario and context, showing the different aspects and emphasis that either Hamlet or the other author they read used in their texts. So it was a big challenge, but they were very, very happy and excited about it. We worked through mini lessons instead of, lectures or typical classes. We work with mini lessons. So I would take 20 minutes or 15 minutes a day to show them how we would work, or how we could analyze, if we were analyzing a theme, how they could analyze that theme in their text. And then they would do it by themselves. And in that way, we would work an assignment, a lesson and an assignment at the same time, which was going to help them at the end with their final product, right?
Yeah, they were building their final product along the way, right?
Exactly. So the final project, the project-based learning was working in that way, right? We were working on the final project right at the beginning, while they were reading, while they were analyzing the text, and while they were also preparing for their final project.
And
so,
did you get the same product for every student? So could they choose?
No, absolutely not. Yes, we had different outcomes. For the photography project, some groups were very, very creative. And of course, there were some challenges, even though we asked them, okay, listen, if you want to do a photography project, you have to be also very serious and formal. If you see in that project, they had to include the ISO information, the shutter speed information. I think in one of those, we have that information. I think that's like like in 2 or 3 more slides, we will see that. And also connect the picture with the ideas that they learned by comparing both texts. You can see the ISO and the shutter speed.
Exactly.
So yeah, it was a big challenge, but they showed everyone that they were up to the challenge.
Thank you, David. And of course, the students were engaged in reading the complete story about Hamlet and then compare it with the book they chose.
Yeah, they not only read Hamlet, they also read and compared and analyzed the second text, which was a huge challenge. And yeah, you can see there an acting project. They used virtual costumes, virtual backgrounds. They did a great job.
Yeah, this is great.
My
And
lord.
this is the senior class, right?
Very much shaken and frightened, but quite unhurt. Now hide. I hear him coming.
Mom, what is it?
Hamlet, you have been rude to your father.
They even tried to fake a British accent, which was great.
Yeah, excellent job.
And then we have, at the end, we have the Co-Spaces project, which was the virtual tour, where they compared Hamlet and Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. So yes, it was a great class. I'm looking forward to repeating the same thing next year, with implementing, of course, things that we can improve.
Now that you mentioned that, David and Sheila, this is one of the good things of creating these types of PBL units, because you can reuse them. You just have to make the adaptations for your coming groups.
Yes, and I think like the biggest advantage of it was that without them following like a normal class structure, they learn how to analyze and compare and do basically a serious literary analysis. Second, they needed to engage and read and understand the text, both texts that they were reading. They were engaged with classic literature and some of them present day or classics in literature. And finally, of course, the creativity and the different outcomes that they presented at the end. So it was a well-rounded class.
Yeah,
that's
exactly. Yeah. Okay. And we can see the talents of the kids, right? Things that they would rather do when they are in person. Now they are doing it digitally, which is something interesting as well.
And at the end, even the comparative essay, which was individual for each one of them, they did a good job. They needed citations. They need to follow the MLA format, and they did an amazing job as well.
Great idea, David. Thank you for sharing. Now we're going to go back to Betsy and David.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm very proud of seeing these products. It's been a long way for both teachers, and we're gonna go back to David Perez because he got excited with the first PBL unit, and guess what? He created another one. And David, tell us a little bit about this one. Kyle, who is here with us today, shared also these where you're gonna see a special place where he has put it, and that's another place where you can get a lot of ideas from. All of these ideas, guys, we love to share because this is inspiration that we find out there from other teachers as well, and it's just a matter of taking the risk, adapting them. So David, tell us, what risks did you go through in putting together the Who Killed the Teacher PBL unit?
Yes, actually, if we see in this part, there was a problem-based unit because we divide the project in tasks. So we have 4 activities in this process. So basically, again, as we mentioned in the other one, here we have the visit of an expert in crime scenes. So basically, the kids chat with this person. He gave them ideas of how they can organize the investigation. Basically, the scenario was that there was a murder in our school in CDA. So basically, they know us. They know all the teachers. We the teachers were the suspects, so they had to find out with logarithmic and exponential equations who was the teacher. So basically, who was the killer. So basically, we gave them the scenario, create the scenario like that. This person, this expert, gave them ideas of how to organize the information. Also, we had the experience of some of them saying that they want to study this at university. They ask information about how they can continue studying this. So basically, you see, that's what we did. We gave an introduction. That's what you're seeing on the screen of showing them the scenario. Basically, what we wanted here is that they can they apply the solution or the solving exponential and logarithmic equations. As I mentioned in the other project, we include mini lessons because in math, as you know, we need the practice. So we cannot take out from our process the explaining something to them because they have questions. The different thing here is that we give them the scenario, what they have, basically what we expect that they do, and during the process of the mini lessons, they can use that information that they are learning to apply it in the solution or creating the final product.
And something that is, sorry, David, something that is important to highlight is that during those mini lessons, you had pieces of learning evidence that they produced, and that helped you keep up with the formative assessment. Yes, because basically we use, the two sides. Basically, I wanted that they practice. So we use this Kami app. That's one of the apps that we use for them to keep the records of what they were doing, but also they had the reflection time. So, for example, what they knew about the project. So that's basically the first activity after they talk or chat with the expert. What they knew about the project, what they need to know. So basically, that part, when they reflect, they understand what they have to do, and they have the time during the class to talk each other, to organize the ideas and know what's the goal. I mean, to try to understand what's the goal and how they are applying what they are learning in class. There were some cases in this situation again, since there are different minds there, people thinking different questions that we don't have from one group, but I have it in another group. They wanted some other ideas to include in the project. So basically, in here, that's what we have to try to do. We need to give the guide, but not limitations for the students, because if they want to learn, this is what we have to take advantage of. That if they want to learn more, that's where our job starts guiding them to be able to reach what they want. So this is where the piece of engagement comes out, right, David? Because you put your fears aside, you took the dive into these and look at what your students were able to create. I'm really impressed of how far they went, because like even putting pictures from the staff and these resources that you see on screen right now, they were able to create this math sheet using Kami. David, maybe you can tell them a little bit about how that tool helped you. Yeah, it has the option to write equations, and that's basically what we need in math. So you can write text, you can write equations. So basically, it's really friendly for them to work with a mathematical process. Also, that they can share the document, and all of them have access to edit it at the same time. They can share the link. They can convert this format, in Kami, they can convert to PDF. They also had the option to include this Kami in Wakelet. There was another tool that we use to organize the information. That's one of the suggestions of the expert, to have the information in order, the clues, everything that was included in Wakelet. Fantastic, David. I don't see questions or comments from our guest teachers today who are joining us, but something that I want to emphasize is that we're going to enter all of the tools that David Perez, David Lopez, math literature teacher have mentioned. All of those tools, we're going to talk a little bit about them here in this section with Sheila. But David Perez and David Lopez, I want to congratulate you for taking the risk. And I think that's something that we have to take back to our schools. You know, you never know how the outcome is going to be, but you need to give yourselves and your students the opportunity to give it a try, because they are definitely going to surprise you with the results. They're definitely going to impress you. And of course, not everything is perfect. Is there a perfect plan, Mr. David Perez and Mr. Lopez? Is there a perfect plan?
No. It's not.
What were a couple of things that probably frustrated you on the way, or obstacles that you found, and probably things that you might want to improve for the next time you try these projects? I'm going to stop sharing in the meantime, and we're gonna just give you those 2 minutes so that you can share those frustrations, because I'm pretty sure teachers are thinking, nah, that's too hard, that's too difficult. How did you accomplish it?
Yeah, and that is one of the questions, Betsy, right? How long did it take you to learn and have the course ready? And did you have to do a short training with the students?
Yes, well, in my case, the plan, basically, we started from the previous period. So because we needed to, get to have it ready to the beginning of the second period. This was a project in the second period, so we needed it ready. So it took, I cannot say right now how many hours we spent, but we spent a lot of time organizing the information, because I mean, this project, it was a final project that I used to, that I used with another group in the previous years, but it was a final project. So basically I was teaching all of the content, and then I assigned the project, and it was like, it wasn't including the teachers or the real life that our students have here. It was, I took it from the internet, and that's what I gave them. But now I create the scenario, create the scenario. We needed to plan all the activities. So basically we need it ready. I mean, basically, once you have it during the period or the classes, everything goes easy. And if we talk about the organization, because we already schedule everything. There are some problems during the way, because for example, we plan for 2 weeks have something ready. In some cases, there are some students that they are not understanding. So that's what we have to do. We have to take time in the afternoons, now that we have Zoom, this option in the afternoons, to explain them. It was out of the class. But just having in mind those students that have this, they are not understanding in the same path. So basically, that's what happens. And yes, we have a mini lessons. We call them mini lessons, for them to solve their questions, because they knew that they had to use logarithmic equations, exponential equations to solve the mystery. But that's what they knew. They needed to know how we solve those equations. So that's what we include in the mini lessons.
And David Perez, anything you'd like to add before we move on to this part?
Well, yeah, I think I agree with David. One of the biggest challenges in my case was also time management, because when you're teaching something challenging, and as challenging as a comprehensive literary analysis, then you definitely need time. So students will just need to be given a hand keeping track of their time and keeping track of their assignments. So that's probably one of the biggest lessons I take from this adventure, to be able to track and keep track of the time and keep track of the assignments, especially when you work in breakout rooms. Probably that's the biggest one. And I just wanted to say before we say bye, this project was not my my whole idea. It was also a project worked along with Betsy and Sheila, so they deserve the credit for this as well.
Thank you, David. And look, I want to rescue something that you said, and it all comes down to collaboration. I think teachers working together, bouncing ideas around is really helpful. And I also want to address something that Deborah is sharing in the chat, and I do value her concern. And that's another thing that we have to take into consideration, contextualize our projects, contextualize our scenarios. Deborah, I really empathize with what you're telling me, and probably in our country that it's not the same scenario, and that's why we did not fear putting the teacher as the victim in the Who Killed the Teacher project, as opposed to your context, which you suffer different or go through different scenarios. So yes, contextualizing your scenarios is super important. Why? Because you need to provide students experiences that they feel identified with. And of course, we don't want to traumatize our students. We want them to enjoy the activity. And as a piece of advice, find things that they are related with. Maybe it's a movie, maybe it's music, maybe it's art, I don't know. And this is where all these curricular content can be integrated. So thank you so much for that concern, Deborah. And I think, Sheila, it's time before we move on to the questions, because I do see commercializing the projects. Look at that. I like that comment.
Yeah, me too.
But there are some best practices that we would like you to take away with you. So I think you go first, right, my friend?
Yeah. So there's another question here. What is the support from the institution? So our institution also believes that the teachers can take these risks in creating these projects, and that our kids are always going to go beyond that. So we are very supportive with this kind of ideas, right? So the tools that the teachers and the students use, we can count on Google Sheets, all the Google Suite, which is, some of them are for free. Okay, so that is making our cost a little bit low. And also the unit products, we are going to use, we use Google Sheets, Wakelet, Kami app. So we also have some licenses for those tools.
Yeah, Sheila, you're right. And so most of them, we all know that they are free. Others require licenses, of course, but teachers, there's a wide variety. And when you have someone who's constantly researching which tools are out there, just give the tools the opportunity. But again, I come back to the same line where your learning objective should be the priority. Okay, so the tools, there's a wide variety. And that's precisely what is hidden over here. But besides the recommended tools, we have some recommended readings for you guys. In our school, we have book studies where we get together with the teachers and go over this. As I told you before, we look for places where to find the inspiration. We're not gonna go over this because it's already time, but another piece of advice is to try to aim for the gold standard PBL. We're gonna leave these for you. We already told you that this virtual environment is yours for you to visit anytime you want and share it whoever you want with. And all of these QR codes are the examples that we shared with you today. How about that? So that you can go back and take them and adapt them. And this is a quote we would like to wrap up this session with before we give you this little present that is hidden here. So Sheila, go ahead.
Yeah, so we also follow Mr. Kyle Wagner. He is a consultant on PBL topics, and his quote is, "Our job as innovator educator is no longer to deliver content and skills, it's to help facilitate experiences that empower our students to develop these on their own." Okay, so how would you adapt this learning and allow the students to be more active? So if you have the chance to follow Kyle Wagner, that's another recommendation that we have for you today.
Yeah, indeed. In fact, we have all the links to the references in the slides that I promised you I would give to you as well. you can find this QR is gonna take you to the slides, but are you ready to unpack this little present? I wanna see the likes from the audience on their screens. With those reactions, I'm going to open that present that we have for you today so that you can go back to your institutions, give this a try. I don't see enough likes. That means they didn't enjoy the presentation. Oh, I'm heartbroken. Okay, there you go. There you go. I see more likes now. I see hearts too. Fantastic. So let's open up that present. I think we're ready. So countdown, Sheila, from 3.
3, 2, 1.
This is a big thank you, teachers, principals who were with us today. We appreciate that you stopped by and explored these examples with us. Today, we would like to grant you guys with a trial for CoSpaces so that you can explore this virtual reality platform that is super friendly to use with your students. This is a 30-day pro trial with 100 seats so that you can invite your students. And listen, you don't need to have something planned. Just invite them to explore and look at the gallery, and all of the ideas that you're gonna find there are going to inspire you. David Perez talked about Kami for the math equations, and this can be used as a whiteboard too. It can be used to edit your PDFs. There is also a referral code whenever you sign up and open your account, and it's gonna give you a trial as well to use all the features. Both of them also have the free features that you can use anytime, but this is what we wanna give away to you guys for stopping by and hearing our experience all the way from Guatemala. So you are welcome to follow us. We already gave you our Twitter handles. And I forgot, yes, the presentation, right. Here is a presentation that you will have access to with the QR, with the directions for CoSpaces. You can access from your browsers as well. You will see all of these tips that we left for you and other references. Okay, so I think we have nothing but to thank you for joining us today, and not to forget to fill out that evaluation that is going to help us improve, because that's part of what we teach our students in our PBL units, to co-evaluate, self-evaluate, and also that evaluation with that feedback that helps us improve our practices. So with that,
Betsy,
I say goodbye. Yeah, Sheila?
Something else, can you please show the QR again? Please, they are asking for it.
Sure. In fact, I can give you guys this link. So let me see. Yeah, there's I think, let me find that link that I have for the presentation so that they can access it. I'm gonna put it in the chat so that it's easier for you guys, okay? And I'm gonna leave Sheila and David Perez and López so they can say bye.
So thank you everybody for joining us in this conversation. We hope you really go back to your institutions and try these new ideas. Thank you for joining.
Thanks for giving us the opportunity to share with you. It was a pleasure for me to share these ideas. As Betsy said, they are not perfect. We are in that process learning too, and we hope that this helps in your classes also.
Thank you everyone for giving us this opportunity. Thank you, Betsy. Thank you, Sheila, for inviting me as well. And yes, it's a challenge, it's an adventure, and let's enjoy the ride. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Paulina.